Colonel Lawrence E. Roberts. Oh my goodness, he is my daddy. And if he could have slept in a suit and tie or a uniform, he would have done that. He appeared to be very formal, and he was a military man and proud of it, in the service for 35 years.
He was just a wonderful human being, a man of service, a man of God, a man who loved his family.
I remember playing catch with him in the backyard. He might have just got back from a mission where he might have been flying for 2 weeks. So even though he was a career person, and that, of course, had a lot to do with his time, he always managed to find time for the family.
He was such a stabilizing force because we were moving from place to place all the time. But Dad was that constant figure and felt that wherever Dad was, we were going to be okay.
I've always heard the story that when he was a young boy growing up in New Jersey, that he would be in the basement of his home, and he had a sawed-off broomstick handle, and he pretended that that was his throttle and that he was flying. And there were many people who said to him, "Come on now, you're never going to fly planes." And he goes, "Yes, I am." And that's something that he wanted to do.
He was in college at Howard University, and like many patriotic men of the time of that era, when the war broke out, he wanted to do something to help his country. And then, of course, he dropped what he was doing, went down to Tuskegee, and was able to pass the program there.
It goes back to World War II as a Tuskegee Airman, then the Korean War, and then the Vietnam War. So he served in 3 wars, received many accommodations, medals, and such.
His legacy of being in the United States Air Force, rising to the rank of colonel in the 70s when there were very few African American officers. I think he paved the way for what we see now with the diversity of generals and who are African American and Hispanic and women also of high rank. I think he was one of those pioneers.
My father was among a minority he was a minority within a minority of officers.
Can you imagine fighting and serving your country and coming home and then not being able to even use a public restroom?
My father was never one to get on a soapbox. He was never one to complain about it. But he, in his own way, and others like him, moved the conversation forward, excellent at what they did, and by their sheer presence and their excellence, brought about change.
My father always felt like excellence was the mission. He didn't think of himself as an African American or he just thought of himself as a soldier, and his mission was to be the best soldier possible. And if he did that, the success would be there.
He no doubt felt the pressure to excel. He knew he had to go beyond just acceptable. He wanted to be extraordinary because others would follow him. Trailblazers have to set the example.
I think his life is one of continuing excellence over a long period of time, not just 3 or 4 years here or there, and being involved with the church, being involved with the Boy Scouts, being involved with things that are of benefit to other people, not just yourself.
Being involved, as my mother was, in all these different boards along the coast, both local, state, and national. Again, he found another way to serve. He found another way to he always put family and God first, but country as well.
He started his military career at Keesler Airfield, and he ended his career at Keesler Air Force Base.
Being a Tuskegee Airman changed his life. It changed a generation. It changed the Roberts family, that he had that experience and then stayed in the military and went on. So to have a chapter here in Biloxi named after him means so very much to the family, and he's very appreciative of that. He was very proud.
Some people know this and some people don't, but his orders were not back to Keesler Air Force Base after Vietnam. His orders were to Scott Air Force Base, actually.
Colonel and Lucy Marion Roberts lived all over the world, literally all over the world. We were told everywhere by the Air Force, by the military, you're going to live here, you're going to live there.
And we made friends, lifelong friends of all races, all over the country and even around the world.
And so instead of going on and staying in the military, as a general, which would have been, when he was promoted to colonel, he was thought to be one of only 35 black men in this country. to be a full bird colonel.
But my father he had a different plan in mind, and he knew that this would be a good place for our family to retire to, and I think he was already looking towards that.
My mother and father were like that, and Mom took care of Dad, and Dad took care of Mom, and they both took care of all of us.
When we got to choose, we chose Mississippi. When it was my dad's choice, my mom's choice, a family's choice, we chose Mississippi.
If we wake up in the morning, that's great, so what are we going to do with our life? And my father, he woke up early and he led a life of service, and that's what he passed on to me, and I believe my other siblings as well.
My father's legacy is one of service. That's his legacy. Service to God, service to family, service to country.